I never cared about my weight. Everybody else did. And that really does your head in. You know, going from 0 to 100 and having that kind of fame like that, and being so young, and the quest for perfection, the eating disorders, especially the eating disorder, because I actually forgot to talk about that in the Go-Go's documentary, and that was like my cross. That was a horrible, horrible cross to bear. I found that drugs, specifically cocaine, kept me from wanting to eat. So, and then you know, that went on for throughout the band, throughout the Go-Go's. You know, I went to Overeaters Anonymous meetings when I was, you know, when I had made Heaven, and you know, it was like a huge global success, and I was making the Runaway Horses album, and I would go to these eating disorder meetings, and you walk into the room, and it's mostly women, you know, and the pain of that. I mean, it sounds kind of trite and superficial to a lot of people who can't really understand. I mean, my name was synonymous, always mentioned with she's pretty and plump, she's cute and chubby, she's svelte, she's been eating too much of those deli trays on tour. I mean, that's really, really, really hurtful and really damaging. And I mean, it took a lot of work to not, and I always saw my chubby 10-year-old self in the mirror for years and years and years. That's what I saw. And up until probably maybe 15 years ago, that was how it went. So, and all those weight issues, that comes from high school. I always got teased for my weight, and it does hurt. And I was called Belimpa and, you know, fatso and chicken legs and all that stuff when I was in school. And it does leave its mark. I mean, I was tough and I was funny, but it was like, you know, the clown masking her pain.
I never really had a role model when I was in high school, or, you know, all the role models were guys.
When the band broke up, I, you know, went on a proper diet and lost the weight, and then, you know, emerged as like this photogenic young woman. And of course, then you get pressure from the record companies to look a certain way, to weigh a certain amount, to be able to be photogenic. You know, the MTV did change music a lot, where it wasn't just about the song and about the music, but it was also about how you looked.
The power of sight, video, the power of sound. MTV Music Television.
That was, you know, that's kind of an intense pressure to be under. And my eating disorder was about good girl, bad girl. You know, if I ate a cookie, I was a bad girl, and then I went on a total binge. And if I could keep it together and starve myself, and, you know, what I would normally do is 6 days of starvation and then 1 day of binging. And that was the way it was for a couple of years. And it was a nightmare. And, you know, I found, you know, with my experience with drugs and alcohol, that was much easier to deal with than food, because you have to eat every day to survive. And I had a terrible relationship with food. And, you know, I mean, like I said earlier, whenever anybody thought about me or talked about me, it was always you know, weight was always mentioned. And even if it's meant to be a compliment, it's really damaging. So it took a long time to get over. And I think with, you know, with my own sobriety, I was able to deal with a lot of those demons and a lot of those issues. That's a hard cross to bear, you know, and especially when you don't care that much about it, but everybody else around you does.